Hey, everybody, this is Kathy. This is a very chill, very last minute, very impromptu live that we're holding today. The reason why is I've received a notification that the podcast is 8 years old today. Today is the eighth anniversary of the Kathy's Indie Zone podcast, which originally back in I guess it's 2017 now, that many years. It was launched as an independent podcast to address everything indie. I'm into anything independent, whether it's music, whether it's books, whether it's art, whether it's business, whether it's people. I truly respect, admire. Hi, Julianne. Thanks for being here. I guess it's me and you this afternoon. Thanks for being here to help us cut the cake for the podcast. So, Julianne is one of the members of the channel, and I respect her and I thank her for her ardent support of me. It was 8 years ago that I decided to launch a podcast, and we covered everything independent. And then during the pandemic of 2020, the podcast sort of went by the wayside and didn't do anything for several years. And in the interim, my podcast was still active, even though it wasn't doing anything. And it got sold over, the rights got sold over to Spotify, which is where we are launched from as of today, Spotify. So back in, I think it was 3 years ago, I decided to relaunch it, and we were going to make it a true crime podcast. And I was at lunch with my husband, and he had told me about Idaho versus Kohberger because I am from Philadelphia originally. That's where I was born and raised. And we learned that of these horrible, horrendous atrocities that occurred at 1122 King Road. We were literally at lunch on December 30th, 2022. I will never forget it. A place called the Ale House. If anyone knows what that is, that's a place that is real popular in Florida. It's a chain. Even though I don't like chains, I like independent restaurants. It's got some really good food, and it was started by a particular family that I admire. And we're at lunch. I'm having literally French onion soup. I can remember it as it is right now. And so we pulled up on the YouTube channel and learned that there had been an arrest in Idaho versus Kohberger, not Idaho, it wasn't Idaho versus Kohberger at that time. We didn't know it, but regarding the 1122 investigations. And so my husband and I, we pulled up the YouTube channel. I'm sitting there, I had a cold. It was, it was between Christmas and New Year's. And I'm sitting there having some French onion soup. And my husband's having, a nice glass of beer celebrating the holidays. When all of a sudden we see this press conference and we learn that Brian C. Kohberger of Monroe County, Pennsylvania, the Poconos, had been arrested. And I said, what? I said to my husband, when we were growing up in Philadelphia, there were two locations that you went to for vacation every year. One was the Jersey Shore. If you were lucky, it was Wildwood, New Jersey. If you were super lucky, it was Atlantic City, New Jersey. Or if you wanted to go hiking, if you wanted to hang out in the snow, if you wanted to ski, it was the Poconos. And we went to the Poconos many years, and it was a very chill location. And while you can't generalize for all people, I literally said, here's what I said. What? I could not believe that someone 2,500 miles away had been arrested. So I spoke with my husband a little bit more. He's a true supporter of mine. I wouldn't be able to do half the things in my life that I did, including going back to law school as an adult and work as an attorney for the years that I did, then decide to retire and then try to make some independent music and then do a podcast without him. So I want to thank my husband very much for his ardent support over the years. I decided to re-up the podcast again. And we looked at several true crime cases, one of them being Idaho versus Kohberger. And I said, look, if I'm going to follow a case, it's got to be Idaho versus Kohberger, either solely, no other cases, because there was just too many things involved, including First Amendment independent issues that I immediately picked up on, or I'm not going to follow Idaho versus Kohberger, and I'm going to follow these 3 or 4 other cases. And then it was, I gotta do Idaho versus Kohberger. So the podcast was re-upped. It was on Spotify at that time, where it still is. And the first episode of the podcast, episode number 1, is page 1 of the affidavit of probable cause, which was signed on December 29th, 2022 by Detective Brett Payne. And ever since then, we have about 800, and I think it's 6 or 7 episodes. We have literally curated the docket where the first 18 episodes, page 1, affidavit of probable cause, that's episode 1. Page 2, affidavit of probable cause, 2. At page 3, affidavit of probable cause, that is episode number 3. And I went through it and I'm like, what? How can Kaylee and Madison be at 2 places at one time? Which is what it said in the affidavit of probable cause. They were at the corner club and also at the grub truck, allegedly, according to Detective Payne, at 1:30 a.m. And I said, this defies all logic and probability. And then he was referring to Mr. Kohberger as Mr. Kohberg. He called the notorious 8458 phone, the 8548 phone. He put a city that was in Idaho, in Washington. And I said to myself, I said, this raises a lot of just bad vibes within me, because you think the good vibes sign, because of I think the respect that this case mandated. We had 4 young people, one of whom looks very much like my own daughter. And that was one of the reasons that pulled me into this case. And we said, we have four young people who were viciously and inconceivably attacked at a home at 11:22 while they were supposedly sleeping or in their rooms, according to what Kathy Mabbitt said early on. And this happened. So it really pulled me in. And over the past couple of years, as we've done episode after episode after episode, I've been approached. People have, at least on, I think it's 2 occasions, wanted to buy the podcast because it's the only one that has curated the docket. And my response was, the selling price is 0. I will never, ever stoop so low as to sell this podcast, because of what the thought, the time that I put into it, the importance that I feel that this case requires. If you look at the docket, you can't search the docket. The docket in Idaho versus Kohberger is not searchable. But what the podcast does is we literally have curated every single document on the court docket, 5 minutes or less, and we tell our listeners where you can go on the docket to find, for example, let's say you're interested, where is the motion for change of venue? It is, I will tell you, January 30th, 2024 is when the defense filed that motion. If you want to find it on the docket, you can't find it. But if you go to the podcast and you search it on YouTube, ask for a motion for change, it's going to pull it up and it's going to tell you it was filed on the 30th of January. And so therefore, as researchers that I know the followers of this channel are, you can then go on the docket and read it for yourself. So therefore, we're at, I think it's 808 episodes right now. We're waiting for the order from Judge Stephen J. Hippler regarding all of the documents that are under seal, so that I can drop the episode that I recorded about a week ago, advising where you can find the court order, saying where the documents are. I can't do it as of yet. The court order has literally disappeared off the docket, and it's extremely frustrating. But what's happened recently is I've been getting some contacts from people who say, Kathy, you're a great detective. You're doing this, you're doing that, good, thank you. It's not that. I serve the needs of the people who have followed the podcast, who demand, who want to see the documents for themselves, who are perfectly capable of reviewing what the documents say. And that's all I do. I'm a conduit between the docket and my listeners, my followers. The YouTube channel was established, I think it was about December last year that I started to post on this YouTube channel. And I love this YouTube channel. This podcast appears on at least 6, 7, 8 different platforms that I'm aware of. But this YouTube channel gives you a searchable feature. So if you are interested in IGG, it will pull up all the episodes that we've done on IGG and then tell you where on the docket you can find that document. None of the other platforms provide that to us. So as we celebrate our podcast, I'm going to say thank you to YouTube for making my life so much easier and to get this information out to you. Now, I see we've got a lot of people in chat right now as we celebrate the birthday of the Kathy's Indie Zone podcast. Who's here? Oh, Amy Conway. Amy calls me Teacher Kathy. Amy, I want to thank you. That is what I love to do. I love my purpose in life, if I had one ever, was to be a teacher. I've had many, many roles in my life, but it is to help my students, my followers. I do some coaching on the side to help them succeed because I'm at a point in my life now where I went to law school. I've worked as an attorney. I worked as a public defender for a short period of time. I represented a few law enforcement agencies. I've had the honor and privilege of representing a number of people in my life. And I'm retired from all of that right now. I don't do litigation anymore. What I love doing is teaching, and this podcast is a certain aspect. It's the heart and soul of what I do. Congratulations, Susie. Thank you for being here today. Hello to the tavern. So thankful for you being here. Meme Tube, congratulations. I thank you for your comments on the channel. Sometimes I've wondered, are people really listening to what I'm saying here on the podcast? What I've tried to do is not just only point to the documents on the docket where you can do your research, but also try to eliminate some of the legalese and explain what a motion in limine is, what the briefings are, what a stipulation is, what's the difference between a declaration and affidavit and so forth. But it's really the followers who motivate me to continue on, because I think without you guys providing your feedback, especially the members of my channel like Joanne Young, who's here today, very much absolutely listening. The fact that you have taken the extra step of being a member, not only a subscriber, but also a member of the channel, means a lot to me. So Roxy, thank you very much. Susie 666, you're very welcome. Kathy, love the input you put out. Thank you guys. I'm here, as I said, I'm here to serve the needs of the people who follow the channel, including other podcasters who I regard the other podcasters as independent journalists or independent political commentators, because they are the ones that are putting in the time. I don't put on 3 or 4 hour episodes trying to find out what really happened at 1122 King Road. I just report on the documents and the docket and then leave it up to the colleagues who then will take the time and effort to try to figure out what happened at 1122. Speaking of which, we've dropped a couple of things from the Idaho State Police's website. They have provided us with hundreds of photographs for free of the crime scene. And the person who was responsible for running and operating that crime scene is Jeffrey Talbot of the ISP. Jeffrey Talbot. Have you guys had an opportunity to review Jeffrey Talbot's recent disclosed filings of what he saw at 1122 when he walked into that property? Hi, Kathy. Thank you for being here. You've been a long-term supporter. I appreciate you very much. Amy, please do. Who's Jeffrey Talbot? Does anyone recognize that name? Jeffrey Talbot is the Idaho State Police detective who was put in charge of the crime scene investigation. If you will recall, Amy, I'm going to ask you a question. Do you remember what time the 911 call was put out to the Moscow Police Department? Remember, it's the Moscow Police Department, lead agency, not the Idaho State Police, but these crimes happened at 1122 King Road, Moscow, Idaho, Latah County. Yes, look at Amy. Oh my goodness. Amy, I think you need to take over the podcast. She is right on target. 11:58 a.m. is when the call was approximately received, right? Amy, who placed the 911 call? What do we know right now from the documents that have been released? Sydney's saying the science behind this case doesn't make sense. I agree, Sydney. I agree. Truth Sleuth is saying BF. That's what we understand, Truth Sleuth. BF is the person who placed the 911 call. Remember back to the affidavit of probable cause. Who knows? We're going to do a pop quiz here. Who signed the affidavit of probable cause December 29th, 2022 under penalty of perjury? Does anyone know the answer to that question? Payne. Truth Sleuth, you guys are on top of things. It was Detective, and here's Jolieanne Young confirming that it was Detective Payne. Meme Tube, everyone, Susie, yes, it was Detective Brett Payne. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to ask you a question. How accurate do you feel the affidavit of probable cause was now that you've had an opportunity to review the body cam redacted footage? We believe that was of the first MPD responding officer. Amy has said that this was at approximately 11:58 a.m. It was Officer Mitch Nunez's body cam. Now that you've had an opportunity to review some of the documents that were dropped by the city of Moscow regarding the Moscow Police Department's investigation, since we've had an opportunity to review ISP's documents and the approximately 300 photographs that ISP has dropped, who here feels that the affidavit of probable cause was accurate in determining and telling the public back in January of 2023, when it was released, of what happened that morning? Highly inaccurate. Meme Tube is saying 0%. Charm Free is saying. Truth Sleuth adds. She is confirming. She is saying 0% accuracy. Theories. Amy is suggesting that the affidavit of probable cause contained a theory of what happened at 1122 King Road. Nada. Julie is coming back in and saying nothing was accurate. We have now seen the reports from Detective Talbot, who was the lead investigator for the ISP, right? It's talked about in the affidavit of probable cause. The Idaho State Police was the lead agency in terms of crime scene processing, investigating, right? Wasn't the sheath and the DNA allegedly found on the sheath sent to the Idaho State Police in Meridian for processing? So ISP was very, 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 very much centrally involved in the case. Linda is saying only lies per the PCA. Amy is saying ISP found no DNA. Christina, I don't know why he pled guilty. Christina is asking the multi-million-dollar question, why did, after all this time, Mr. Kohberger stand up in open court on the 2nd of July as he did and pled guilty to the 5 first-degree felonies, ladies and gentlemen, that were in the indictment that was returned by the Latah County grand jury. He was to stand trial on those 5. I don't know until we have the case unsealed, and the case is sealed right now. So anyway, we will go back to this affidavit of probable causes. All we knew as the public for a very long time, and we got drips and drabs and drips and drabs. And, some of the documents were released, but a lot of the evidence is under seal. It's still under seal. It is still under seal. If you query on the YouTube channel, the podcast, and put in there something like under seal, you're going to see document after episode saying another thing filed under seal, another thing, a stipulation filing things under seal, another order filing things under seal from you, the public. And that's who I serve. It is reporting to the public what is going on in this case, because you are perfectly capable of looking at that docket and figuring out what happened in this case. But you can't do that right now because the case is largely under seal. Amy is saying if BK appeals, we can have an idea of where this is going. Okay. Exposited DP has tossed out there is a theory according to Charm Free. The math doesn't add up. Tavern, what math doesn't add up? What math do you feel? Well, Julie Ann Young is asking a very intriguing question. She asks, how do you feel about the fire in Coeur d'Alene the day before BK changed his plea? Maybe he was threatened. Okay, we're going to find out. We will find out if and when this case is unsealed. Tavern, why do you feel this is a huge cover-up? Tavern saying, bold letters, capital letters, point blank, a huge cover-up. Are you saying that it's because the case is under seal and is still under seal over a month after the case was closed? This case was closed July 23rd, 2025. Mr. Kohberger was sentenced and he was immediately sent to the Idaho State Penitentiary just outside of Boise. Case was closed. This case remains under seal. Does anyone have any idea of why this case is still under seal? The Tavern is saying so many things make zero sense. Julie Young has quite an interesting comment here. It was on the anniversary of the police burning down the Aryan Brotherhood compound. Huge cover-up, people are saying. So, ladies and gentlemen, here we stand. It's over a month since he pled guilty. And this case is still under seal. And we're starting to see some documentation from the lead crime scene investigator, Mr. Talbot. He's saying that, number one, when he arrived at 1122 King Road, and he's in charge of the crime scene investigation, all the photographs you see, all of the video that was taken by ISP, that was done under Mr. Talbot's management. He was the lead detective. He assigned tasks. He reviewed evidence. He walked through that property, as he has said in a narrative. He's saying that he found red stuff between the second and third floor. He saw it himself on the railing. Let's repeat this again for because this is the anniversary of the podcast. Jeffrey Talbot, who is the lead detective from the Idaho State Police, who was put in charge of the crime scene investigation. So video that you've seen of people out in the parking lot with their booties on, getting ready to go into the house, that took pictures in the house. Jeffrey Talbot was over all of them. He was the manager. He is saying that they received the call at 12:22 p.m. from the Moscow Police Department for ISP's help. He is saying that he was appointed the ISP lead detective. He is saying that he arrived at 1122 King Road at 2:41 p.m. And when he arrived, Detective Brett Payne and Sergeant, now Captain Blacker, were both on scene. That's not what the PCA says. What does the PCA say? When did Payne arrive per the PCA at 1122 King Road? Was it 1240? Well, it would have had to have been before 241 if the ISP lead detective is saying when he arrived, Payne was already there. Amy Conway, charm free, is saying 4 p.m. 4 p.m. exactly. Page 1 of the affidavit of probable cause. You can find it on the docket, Idaho versus Kohberger. It is effectively document number 1, and it says that Detective Payne, accompanied by Sergeant Blaker, arrived at approximately 4 p.m. Now, this is contradicted by what detective from ISP Jeffrey Talbot's saying. He's saying that when he arrived at 1122 King Road, that Payne, Blaker were already there. They were processing the scene. And then he says that at about 5 p.m., he walked through that scene with Detective Payne, with Bill Thompson. Who's Bill Thompson? Does anyone know? With Ashley Jennings. Does anyone know who Ashley Jennings is? Amy is saying that Payne already was there. Trace DNA. Yes. Okay, here we go. Amy, very much on top of the documents. Susie 666, very much on top of the documents. Bill Thompson was the lead prosecutor, and Ashley Jennings was the deputy lead prosecutor. So here we go. Christina jumping into the conversation, saying that Ashley Jennings was the assistant prosecutor. And so here we have, and thank you, Julianne, member of our channel. She's saying prosecutor. Fire. Amy is declaring a fire as to this point. Well, at 5 p.m., the head of the ISP crime scene investigation, detective, says that he walked through the property. And please look at our content from today, because it will show you his report of what he said happened on November 13th, 2022. Of primary importance, I believe, that I'd like to direct your attention to, is that he walked up to the second floor, walked into, and he saw Xana's bedroom. And then he said, do you remember from the layout of the house, are the stairs from the first to the second floor different from the stairs to the second to the third floor? Are they different? And if so, how? Julianne, Amy, Sydney, I know that you guys are very much on top of the documents. You've seen the models of 1122 King Road. Are the steps from the first to the second floor exactly alike from the second to the third floor? Nope. Amy is saying absolutely not. They're different. They're different. She is correct because the stairs from the first to the second floor, and they are located right by the front door, right, Amy? They're right by the front door. They go straight up to the second floor. In other words, you walk in the door, the steps are literally backing up to the door frame, and you're going to go up a bunch of steps, and it's going to lead directly to the second floor. And then you're going to be in the great room, right? The great room where they have the television, where they have a couch, where they maybe had done some entertaining. Then you walk up or down a step, one step, very odd step placed. And to the left, you're going to see the door to DM's room. To the right is to the kitchen area. And then there's going to be a certain number of steps leading up from 2 to 3. There's about, I don't know, 8 steps or so, maybe 9. And then there's a landing area, and then you turn around in the opposite direction. And then there's a few more steps leading up to 3. So what the ISP leading, the head and the lead detective is saying is that when he walked up from the second to the third floor, he made that turn on the landing from the second to the third floor, and there he saw on the steps closest to the third floor, what did he see on the banister? Who has read his report? This is Detective Talbot from the ISP. Susie, Tooth, Amy, Julianne, right on top of things. He saw red stuff. Post woke world saying the same thing. The detective, now this is not just any law enforcement officer of the Idaho State Police. This is the lead detective of the crime scene investigation. So we would think that he would be very much on tune. He's going to be on the mark regarding what he sees, what he hears, what he knows. And he has said, Zanata is correct. Steps from 2 to 3 are not direct. They turn. There's a few steps from the second to the third floor, landing area, and then there's a few more steps in the opposite direction. The landing area, going up a few more steps, that railing is where he saw the red stuff on November 13th, 2022. And who's with him when he sees that red stuff? Who is with the Idaho State Police Detective Talbot, lead detective for crime scene? He's not going up there by himself. He is up there with Bill Thompson and Ashley Jennings. So if Detective Talbot is saying on November 13th, 2022, sometime after 5 p.m., he is seeing red stuff on the railing from 2 to 3 and the closest possible railing to the third floor. Do you think the prosecutors also saw that, or could they have missed it? You are very much welcome, post woke world. This is why it is so crucial to read the documents. To read the documents. They will tell you everything. They will tell you the case. You cannot discount, we cannot discount the documents. The documents reveal the facts of the case. And yes, Amy is saying, she is confirming that these are the state prosecutors. Amy, I'm going to ask your opinion. Pure opinion, speculation. We were not there on November 13th, 2022. We were not in that house. If I'm going to ask you, give an opinion under the First Amendment, if The lead detective for the Idaho State Police, Talbot, said that he saw red smears on the railings, the steps that are closest to the third floor. Do you think that it is more likely than not that the prosecutors also saw that? Absolutely. Amy is giving her opinion as she is entitled to under the First Amendment. She feels that, look, if there's a group going up through the house and one of them happens to be the lead detective for the crime scene investigation, along with two other members of the prosecutorial team, that everyone should have probably seen the red stuff on the railing. Now, I'm going to ask you a question. Linda is also confirming. She feels, of course, yes. Susie is saying, in her opinion, that she gives under the First Amendment, freedom of speech. She's saying, how could anyone miss it? So now it becomes, the question is, what happened at 1122 King Road? Uncle Dunky, thank you very much. Happy birthday. Thank you. Thanks for being here celebrating with us. What exactly happened at 1122 King Road? It's the documents that's going to tell us. So please look at the documents. Look at what has been released by the Idaho State Police. Look at the photographs that have been released by the Idaho State Police. Look at the documents that have been released by the Moscow Police Department, and look at the docket to the extent that you can to see what's been released. William Tardy is asking, have you heard about blood being on a blanket and a jacket in DM's room? I don't know. I haven't come across that yet, but I have come across, and I've done a podcast episode and an Indie Zone episode regarding a pink and green jacket that was allegedly returned to DM that she said wasn't hers. So I'm not sure if that's the jacket that we're referring to here. William Tardy is suggesting that he believes that's the same jacket. Well, that would be, in my opinion, that I give under the First Amendment, a problem. Because when the chief of police, Fry, pulled up, remember, to the crime scene as he did in mid-December with the U-Haul truck and the members of the Idaho, the MPD going in and out as though this was a moving and storage operation. One of the items that was taken out of the crime scene that was believed to have belonged to DM was a pink and green jacket. Thank you, Tardy. William Tardy, appreciate you. Stephen's asking, as a member of the public, which he has a right to do, as a matter of fact, the framers of the Constitution said that people like Stephen, members of the general public, have an important duty to ensure that the judicial system is operating properly by being able to see documents, sit in on court hearings, whether they're transmitted live or in person. He's asking, what's going on here? Amy is absolutely a constitutionalist. She's very, very, very much a proponent of the First Amendment as well as the Constitution. Leslie and Billy, hey, thank you. Very, very happy to see you here. We're here celebrating the podcast, but also talking in general about what's been learned in Idaho versus Kohberger. Okay, great. Thank you. I want to ask, ladies and gentlemen, are you walking away from this case right now? knowing exactly what this case was all about? Or do you feel that there's still unfinished business in Idaho versus Kohberger, and why? Oh, we're getting no. William Tardy coming in, no. Christina, absolutely not. No. Amy Conway, no. Christina says, I can't. Linda, big no with an exclamation point. Charm free, no way. Julianne, member of the channel for many months, never. No. Susie is asking, hoping for an appeal. Coda, no way. Stephen, lots of unfinished business. Okay, I want to ask you guys, why do you feel? Because, I mean, he stood up, he pled guilty. He pled guilty in open court on July 2nd. You all saw him. Why do you feel that there's still unfinished business in this case? Amy saying, many hours of my time and research wasn't correct justice. Thank you, Wolf. No, okay. Saltz is bringing up a very key point, no trial. I want to know how many people were shocked when that change of plea happened. Sydney saying anyone could accuse anyone of anything. Christina suggesting corruption has happened here. All the sealed documents. Julianne is very much concerned about the sealed documents. Okay, Post-Walk World is saying, hey, where's the corroborating evidence? Post-Walk World, it's under seal. That's where it's at right now. Too many lies. Okay, this name is not happy, is concerned as a citizen, might be suspicious behavior by survivors, evidence under seal, questioning what happened in the case. Member 72 saying shocked. Yes, eye-opening to see how the public is being manipulated. Susie has, I think this is the question of the case. Susie, show us, meaning the public. Susie is speaking on behalf of the public at large. Show us the time-stamped footage of the sheath. We know that there were 5 first responders who went into that room, Susie. Where is that time-stamped first responder body cam? Oh, it's under a temporary restraining order right now. Julianne is saying, my son, the attorney, told me he has never seen anything like this. Julianne, I think your son, the attorney, is 100% correct. Christine is asking, can we trust the timestamp even? They have already proven they cut footage. This name is saying, I used to want to visit Idaho. Not now. Ladies, so many questions still exist in this case, in my opinion. We are going to continue to keep you posted, but I want you to continue to comment, to give your opinions. Your opinions mean a lot, mean the world to me, and I think to the public at large that are looking at this case right now and wondering what exactly happened. Why is it under seal? Why isn't the public privy to evidence over a month after this man was sent off to the state penitentiary? All right, everyone, I want to thank you all. Please share. Please like this channel as much as you can, because we are all about the documents, and the documents don't lie. They tell the case. The case is in the documents. We're going to continue to bring you updates, and I want to thank you all. Gee Whiz has joined us. He's a big supporter. He is one of the reasons why I'm here, because of his support over these many, many, many months. Thank you, G-Wiz. Thank you all for joining us today. Please look for our content, like, share it, consider becoming a member of the channel, and we'll see you again very, very soon. Thanks, Susie. We love your interactions as well. Bye, everyone.